Hello, my Teaserking family. If at first you don't succeed, try 5 times. I kept getting like unable to load, unable to load. So finally, I was able to load. You can see I just keep trying. All right, a second. Optimus Stereo. All right. So, what is going on? All right. Well, as you know, my birthday was Friday. I played some poker. That was okay. I mean, you can only do what happens is based on the cards. So you can only based on what you're dealt. That's how you play. So I couldn't. Yeah, I'm a good player. Can I? I can't win $1,000 at a 1-3 hole, $300. Um, but I most importantly, I did win, which is the name of the game. Why are you investing or gambling? So if you play stocks or you play real estate trust, well, real estate trust is a little different, but if you play stocks or you play annuities or just football or Bitcoin or whatever you play, why are you playing? You're playing to win. Right? If I take out $500 at a poker table in Vegas, the goal is to make it 1,000. Well, the goal is to end with more than 500. Let's put it like that. If I play blackjack or craps or any of those, the goal is to win. More than you start with. It could be $5, it could be $5,000, but the goal is to win. That's why you're there. Oh, it's excitement. You want excitement? Go watch YouTube or go watch a football game or go take a walk. I mean, whatever you want to do. But when you're gambling, you're investing and you're playing to win. If you're not, what are you doing there? Just hand your money to some guy in the corner. Then here's $300. I was gonna go play poker for fun, so I'm just gonna hand you the money. That's crazy. So what do we have? We have gold now at 29.04, silver at 32.26. We know both are bullshit. We know they don't have. We know comex is gone. Why they're still doing derivatives, I have no idea. Whoever's at the banks telling the traders to still do this should be fired. He just must not get it. Now, how much money are they making on these derivatives? They're basically options, so they're basically, now it's 29.04. I would assume they're going long because they're not. There's too much demand for the physical gold and silver to short it. Only an idiot would short a market that's huge in demand. So I don't know why they're still doing it. Silver 32.26. I know why they're doing that because they're underwater in their derivatives. So everybody thinks they're keeping the price down for the Chinese, or they don't want competition with the dollar. Well, isn't Bitcoin competition for the dollar? Bitcoin was up to whatever, 80, 90, 100,000. How is that not competition for the? But the dollar didn't go anywhere. Not everybody's jumping into Bitcoin, and if you are, you can't use it anyway. And apparently, you're not supposed to sell it because that'll ruin the Ponzi scheme. So what are you doing in Bitcoin? You're just buying in Bitcoin. You're not going to sell. That's the stupidest. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. You always, at some point, sell. Now, as I pointed out, why do you quit a winner when you're gambling, betting on football, poker, at the casinos? Because there's a good chance you can lose. So the risk you take and you get up and you win is why you take That's why you take it, right? That's why you take your winnings. I played, I got lucky. Instead of losing, I did win, and I'll take it. And that's what you should do in Bitcoin. It's what you should do in stocks because they're very risky. As you saw, Bitcoin went down to 81,000. Larry Fink started buying at that point. So, okay, but we'll see who knows. Very volatile because it's all a Ponzi scheme. It's funny. I watched Madoff on Netflix and I watched Madoff on YouTube on Tubi, and they were like night and day. The one on Netflix is all the family, and he's got kids working for him, and interviewing the secretary and all the crooks. Let's interview the crooks and make them look good. And the SEC, and then you had the one guy who's a total idiot who knew it was a scam, like he was the only one who knew it was a scam. What was it, Harry Markopoulos or whatever? These guys from the other investment bank crying because they couldn't beat Madoff and couldn't get business from him. Now, 99% of the people knew Madoff was a Ponzi scheme. The traders know he's not trading. SEC's in on it. JP Morgan's in on it. The Russian mafia is in on it. So, what do you, who you gonna, whatchamacallit, what do they call it? What is it? It's what's Mark McGuire, a tattletale, but it's got a different name. Anyway, what do you think you're going to get out of that? The people who are running the thing all know what it is. I'll have these people working for them, and you're not going to stop. You're not going to go to the SEC and stop it because they're in on it. Well, the SEC just didn't do anything, and they just resigned instead of going to jail. And JP Morgan paid his normal fine. Yeah, we didn't do anything wrong, but we'll pay the fine, which means they're guilty. And I'm sure the Russian mafia would have killed the family if he talked. So he just said, "Oh, I did it by myself." Just a bunch of bullshit there. But that's what you have with Comex now. It's a bunch of Ponzi. It's not real. People aren't. There's a lot of derivatives and a lot of what do you call it? It was in that other movie where I bet that it was the margin call movie, and the girl was playing blackjack, and then the people behind her were betting if she'd win the hand. They weren't even in the hand, but they were betting she would win the hand, and then the people behind them were betting who would win the bet between them. I can't remember the name of it, but what a joke! What is that? Bet the fucking game. Why would I bet on something else? I think Kansas City is going to beat Cincinnati. Okay. And then somebody's betting that I'm going to win. Like, well, just bet the game. Don't bet on me. Bet the game. Are you kidding me? So there's a lot of that shit going on with the gold and silver. We know COMEX, it's a paper market. It's a fixed market. It was built to be fixed. It doesn't really carry that much inventory, a little bit. And it's basically a scam. And basically, they're trying to price the gold and silver by them and not the market. It's not made to have physical deliveries. That's the problem. So now everybody wants physical. Everybody's woken up going, I think the dollar's not worth anything. What are we going to do? And that's the problem. So they're all going, I don't trust the dollar anymore. I want gold because you can't print gold. See, everybody understands gold's been around for 5,000 years, but only certain people like me know why it's been around for 5,000 years. And because you can't print it, basically. That's why. See, I hate listening to these other people, and they say funny things, but they can't explain them. And that's why I make sure I do explain it, because what's the point of saying something if nobody understands what the fuck you just said? So when I say about uh, fiat money going out, it's because of that. Or if I say gold has been around for 5,000 years, probably longer, it's because it can't be printed. It's a limited supply, and there's still a limited supply. So as long as it's limited, it'll be worth, it'll always hold value. And it's always been money. And then people know it of money. So the new people come in and go, oh yeah, I know gold's money. Why the US said it's a paperweight and not money shows how stupid they really are, trying to convince you not to take gold. What that's not in my best interest to do that. So you listen to these other guys, and they really show how stupid they really are when they can't answer the questions. Anyway, so the fiat money's dead because they printed it. As I said, everybody's printing this to death because mostly they don't understand printing it to death. They think you can just keep printing it. And it's this, the euro, and it's this. They're both in all of them. Swiss franc, British pound, the ruble, the everything is basically gone because they all have debt. They all keep printing for pensions. It's really the central bank that's at fault, the central bank trying to do it. So anyway, so if we look at gold today, it's up to 29.08. So it's running up. Silver 32.30. Why is silver down 24 cents today? There's no reason. Nobody's selling. See, in a free market, I'm going to sell this and I'm going to want 110. Somebody's going to pay me 110 because that's what it's been going for on eBay. And so we know what the market is. We know what the price is. And for gold, nobody is selling gold to lower it. People will buy it at 32.30, but nobody's selling it. So why is the price going down if nobody's selling it? Because it's priced on it's communist Keynesian derivative price, not a free market. Because it's like the Super Bowl tickets. Why would the Super Bowl tickets ever go down? So let's say they come out at 1,500 and they get all bought. There were 70,000 this time, and they all get bought, and then they all come to more people want them, right? The demand's there. So now it goes, and now they're selling for 5,000, right? Why would they ever go down from 5,000 if people are secondary market now says, I'll give you $5,000. That's the price. And maybe you get a few at 4,900, but generally you probably would have went 4,500 and then 5,000. And again, it's 50-yard line versus end zone. But that's the point of it. Why would the ticket ever go down? Why would the Montana card, why would it go down to 70,000? Now if there's no demand and people don't have money because of the inflation killing the value of their money, then maybe it does go down because of less demand. But is there less demand of gold and silver? Absolutely not. Gold and silver are highly demanded. Nobody's selling it. Once in a blue moon, you get a guy at my guy's store and he's selling it. And because he needs to keep the lights on or eat or whatever he's trying to do, he needs fiat money. So he's got the perfect asset, gold and silver. He sells it, the guy gives him the money, and off he goes. But really, to make it go down with this much demand and this little supply doesn't make any sense in a free market, only in derivatives. And so this is going to be going out soon, comex, because everybody wants the physical gold. So when they do a trade, there's two ends of the trade. There's the guy doing the derivative, and the other half is, okay, we'll buy it from you, but we want physical. We want to get physical paid, not just paper. So we don't want an IOU. I owe you 100 ounces of gold. We actually want the 100 ounces of gold. And that's what's destroying comex. People taking delivery, they're not really set up for it. We'll have to go to a different system, which is not a big deal. I find once I learned about comex, thought it was incredibly communistic and incredibly stupid. Well, we'll set the price by that. As I taught you about Adam Smith, the whole point is let the market bear. Oh, Joe wants a donut in the 1780s. Joe wants a donut. Oh, okay. So you make a bakery. And then Bill, the baker across the street sees Joe getting the donut, says, hell, I'll open a bakery. And so you had competition, and that lowers the price and improves the quality. But it's always set by the market, by the person buying it. That's how you should have everything done. There's no excuse not to have it done like that, except for utilities, because it's not cost efficient to have, 8 power plants in the area selling you electricity, right? You have one and it's very expensive. So he does that, but then it is regulated going, well, this is what we can. And that's a very minor exception, the utility gas and electric and things like that. Otherwise, there should always be competition as long as you can get into the market. That's what the cars are kind of that's why you had GM, Ford, and Chrysler, because that's all you could really have. And then Honda came in and Toyota, and then all the Germans came in. And that's really what you had. A quick side note on that, I was really, don't ever buy a Ford again. Henry Ford gave money to Hitler. Yeah, he liked Hitler. So, yeah, we probably don't want to help him anymore. But they were saying who helped Hitler. A lot of the German auto companies did. But when I heard Ford did, I was just like, you got to be kidding. What's wrong with this guy? So anyway, that's what you have with comex is in trouble. And God, this tape job will not stick on my glasses. I don't know what it is. So then you have, so comex will explode. Will go to zero. It'll go out. Not the gold will go to zero. Comex will not be used because everybody wants the physical, and we don't have it. And when you hear that the U.S. is bringing in gold, it's to pay off these derivatives. And silver, if they ever start bringing silver back, it'll be to pay off the derivatives. It's not for a gold standard. We do not have 8,000 tons. I was listening to something yesterday. Well, they'll use the 8,000 tons to have a gold. We don't have 8,000 tons. What did Trump just say? Yeah, we're going to do an audit. And then he's like, no, somebody stole our gold. Yeah, you sold it to China. What do you mean somebody stole it? So all of a sudden you don't hear anything about the audit at Fort Knox because it will show there is no gold and they can't show it. So they will not audit Fort Knox. That's why they haven't. I don't know if he's trying to bring back 8,000 tons of gold in and he's buying them, but he doesn't have money to buy them because we're broke. So I don't know, but you can't use the fake gold in Fort Knox that is China's to use anything. So people are going to different sources to get gold and silver than comex, and I don't know why they're buying it from comex. I think they're just taking delivery because it's so cheap. So in other words, somebody's holding this Montana price worth PSA 10 is worth 100,000, let's say, but you could get it for 25,000. Oh, okay. Now, wait, but he doesn't have any. So in other words, I want to get the card for 25,000 instead of 100. But when I go to comex, he doesn't have the card. He's getting it for me. Yeah, I'll give you an IOU. I owe you a Montana card. No, I want the card. I don't want an IOU, and I do want the card. But we don't have any. Well, then why are you doing options showing the price of this card at 25,000 if you don't have any? So that's kind of what comex is. They'll show you they'll put it out there. People will buy it from them because it's 25,000 when it's really 100. but they don't actually have the card and they're giving you IO, and they're trying to get the card in, but then they realize they have to pay $100,000 to get it. And that's what they're doing with gold. So gold, by keeping the derivatives down, are keeping the price down. So the price is what 29.08. Okay, real price is up here. Comex price is here. So it's like the Montana. They're trying to sell for 25, but we know this. The difference is we know this price is 100, and they're trying to sell it for 25. So we'll buy it all day. In gold, the real price is here, but we don't know what that is. And the Comex price is 29.08, and people can't buy it fast enough because they know it's worth a lot more than that. But since this isn't known, and my guess is 20,000 or so, should be about right. As the fiat currency becomes worthless, which it is, people just don't know it. In other words, if you're in the euro or the British pound or Swiss franc, you think this euro is worth something, but the five euro is worth maybe 5 cents. I mean, what can you buy with €5? Probably not. Probably not even Starbucks. So you start understanding that the money's not worth anything, but people don't understand it yet, right? People aren't educated in Austrian economics like we are, and therefore they just see the five. They think it's worth $5 because it's got a 5 on it, which doesn't make it worth anything. It's a pretty piece of paper with a 5 on it. So if I write 20 on it, okay, so this piece of paper is now worth 20 because I wrote a 20 on it, so this is worth 20. I mean, that's how insane it is. But people don't realize they're getting Ponzi schemed. And the funny part is the elites, like the Warren Buffets and stuff like that, or the Gates, they think, oh, I got all this money. They don't realize they're all being Ponzi schemed. They don't realize it's not worth anything. So that's the Ponzi scheme, right? So as I was saying with Madoff, everybody knew it was a Ponzi scheme because there's no trading. And these 3 idiots from the other bank who are trying to sell it, whistleblower, they're trying to be whistleblowers, tell the SEC, oh, look, it's a Ponzi scheme because there's no trading and you can't just go up and it can't be 100%. Well, don't you think the people who are buying it realize that? So if somebody offered you 15%, I'll give you a 15% return this year, and you get this every month, then 15%, next year 15%, you'd have to. The market crashed in 2000, not a problem. we did great. That just shows you that the real mentality of people. I don't care what you do. If I get 15%, you can go ahead and do it. And that's basically what the thought processes are. Do they know it's a Ponzi scheme? Do you realize Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme? Do you realize that this is a Ponzi scheme? The trouble with this is you really don't have a choice, right? As I asked the guy at the gold store, well, I got to buy the gold. My biggest concern is, will you still take this? He says, yeah. So as long as he's willing to take it, it's a Ponzi scheme because it has no value, but I can still use it. And that's all. You sit there and you go, okay, fine, thank you. But we know it's a Ponzi and we know it's not worth anything. Maybe it's a scam. I don't know, but it's not worth anything. Whatever you want to. Not necessarily a Ponzi scheme. It's accepted, but it's really a joke. It's not worth anything because it's not backed by anything. It's just a piece of paper. So I might as well go. I'm going to go to Kroger's. I need some steaks and hamburgers, and I'm going to go get. I'm going to make this at 200, and I'm going to go to Kroger's because it's a piece of paper with a 200 on it. So I'm going to go shopping at Kroger's, and when I get to the register, I'm going to hand them this and say, look. It's worth 200. It's a piece of paper. So that's my concern. But the coin guy will accept the monopoly money, and that's fine. If the coin guy wants to accept the monopoly money, I'm happy to give it to him. I'm happy to be Rumpelstiltskin and trade it in. More than happy. So how can comex keep going? Well, because the reason I think that the whistleblowers aren't having an effect is because people want to buy the gold and silver cheap, right? Hey, I can get it for 29. I can get silver for 32.25 right now. So I don't want comex to go away because I want to keep buying silver at 29 at 32.29 or 25, whatever. So I think that's part of the problem. As long as there's still gold and silver to be bought and it hasn't hit like the Super Bowl where all the tickets are sold, then it goes secondary market. So comex and has the money, has some gold, right? I don't know where, but they have some. So as long as they have some to pay off when people ask for delivery of the gold and silver, they'll keep it going because I can buy it cheap. And theoretically, we like comex because I went and bought 10 ounces of silver for 34.60 an ounce. So I ran and bought 10 ounces because thanks to comex, I could buy the 10 ounces at 32. And he his whole premium of $2, which cracks me up, 34.60. So I basically got used comex to my advantage by buying it. And that's how you have to look at it. Yes, we know silver will be 1,000 an ounce, and we know gold will be 10,000 an ounce, and we get that, and it will be. But right now, as long as everybody is using comex to buy, comex isn't going anywhere, and they keep with the derivatives, keeping the price down, and that's probably the orders. Is it the Russians and the Chinese? I don't know because the U.S. is too stupid to buy. So I assume that the banks, J.P. Morgan's keeping it down because the Chinese are going. This is great. We can get gold for 29, and we can get silver for $32 an ounce, and gold for 29.04. Keep it going, and I think that's where the frustration of us comes in, as investors, as intelligent people, going, okay, gold's going to go up. I'm going to buy it. Okay, now go up. But the same mechanism that allows us to buy the gold at 29.04, we're fighting against. Why isn't it 10 grand? Because there's still gold to be had, and it's going to stay at 29. It's going to stay at 29.04 because we want to keep the price down so we can buy more. We being China, Russia, India, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and most other countries. Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania all want the cheap gold. So if we understand that, then we don't get upset about it. But we understand that's where it's headed. So as soon as the inventory is gone, then we can't use comex anymore because, as I said, I can get this card for 25,000, even though on eBay it's 100. Great, I'll take 5 of them. Well, I don't really have the card, and then I have to go to the secondary market to cover because the Russians want 5 of these, and I don't have them. I just did a derivative on it. I don't really have the card. I'll give you an IOU. I owe you 5 Montanas. I'll never pay you, but I'll give you that. So once this inventory is gone, I can't sell it for 25 grand anymore because I don't have any. And I'm saying I'm going to give you one, but I don't. So I'm going to have to raise the price to the 100 grand and go get a few and then sell them. But I can't keep selling these at 25 grand if they're 100 grand on eBay. So if we translate it to gold, I'm trying to sell paper gold in Russia, China. I want delivery. And now what do? You want delivery. of that, but you can't. I don't have it. There isn't any to deliver to you. Silver's 30,000 tons of they need, but they don't have, and gold's whatever, how many thousands of tons that they have that they need, they don't have. That's why they're bringing it back. They're bringing it back to pay off these debts that they owe because they promised they would, I'll give you, you're taking delivery of the gold. See, the way comex was set, nobody would ever take delivery of the physical metal. So comex was a nice Ponzi scheme, and it would just keep going. And so they had some, it's like, I have the Montana cart, so I'm going to do a derivative, but nobody wants to take the delivery. I'll just give you an IOU, and you're like, okay, that's fine. And I trust you that you will deliver it. And that's what happened. But now they're not, I don't trust you anymore. I want the delivery, and I don't have it. And comex doesn't have the gold or the silver to deliver. Now what the fuck are they going to do? And you can't mess with the Russians and Chinese. So this is the ponderance of, well, I think we got to close gold and silver and comex because I don't have it to deliver, and they want it, and I can't keep stalling them. They don't play nice. So I think that's what's happened when you finally get to the point where there's no more gold and silver supply to play the game of derivative price fixing. Then it goes. That's why everybody says it's going to explode, because then it'll be free market where somebody who has the gold will be selling it, but they'll be selling it not at 3,000. They'll be selling it at 7 or 8, and somebody will be buying. Then the price will go to 9 or 10, and somebody will be buying until you finally don't get the buyers at such a point, which will probably be very high because there's too much demand. As long as you have 100 people wanting 50 cards, or 120,000 people wanting 70,000 Super Bowl tickets, you're going to get to that next level where it's bought, and then I paid 1,500. I'm going to need 4,000, and then I paid 4,000. I need 7,000, and that's what and that's what comex is. But for us, it's great. It's a buying opportunity of a lifetime. I can get silver for $32 an ounce, or 34. It's 32 with the premium. So I can get silver for $34 an ounce. Sounds great. Where do I get in line? And that's the whole point of it. So that's where the Ponzi scheme ends and comex dries up and goes away. And it's being duplicated with this fiat currency all over the world, where this is also not worth anything, right? This is just print. People think they think the money's worth something. And so but then when they try to use it, so here's how this Ponzi scheme ends. You think you have money, it says $5, but when you try to use it, you can't buy anything. My pita bread's $3.99 for 8 pita breads. You got to be kidding. $3.99 for 8 pita breads, right? A 2-liter Coke's $2.95. I was at the store yesterday. So all these things are much more expensive. And as what they're saying is, when people realize it's the dollar is not representing the value it says, not the prices of the tuna and Oreo cookies going up, that's when people scream bloody murder, and people are not quite there yet. We're there because you're being taught by the professor. So we know the 5 on it doesn't have the value of the 5 before, right? $100 is only worth $1. You go to the grocery store with $100, you barely buy anything. You buy 10 things, there's your 100. Well, did they go up in cost? No, it's the value of that 100 isn't worth as much as it used to be. And that's the point. That's the hidden point that people aren't understanding, because they see I got $100 on me. And I know when I was younger and I had $100, I was happy to have the $100. But now the $100 has no value, and that's the part that people aren't quite getting yet. So when people start realizing that money is not worth what it says, so in other words, this really should be reprinted to 0.5, not 5. So this is 0.5 of a dollar, not $5, because the $5 won't buy you anything. It'll buy you far less than it used to. And that's really the key. And so again, it's just simple. If you understand it, then you know what's happening. So if we understand the 5 is not worth it, and we understand that our dollars is worth a penny, this won't buy you anything. The value of the dollar won't buy you anything. And if we understand that, we understand comex is just simply not the real price of gold and silver. It's a price kept down so people can buy it. Basically, the Chinese and the Russians want to buy gold and silver, and they want the cheapest price possible. I mean, why do we use comex as the pricing mechanism? Why, when I go to my store, he's looking at comex for the price of gold and silver? Is he out of his freaking mind? Absolutely. He doesn't understand it. But you'll go to all the stores. Why do they use comex as the price? It's not a real price. It's a derivative price. It's people putting derivatives in to keep the price down. But that doesn't show what the demand for the gold and silver are, as if this is 100,000, but if we looked at comex, it would say 25,000. Would you sell this for 25,000? That's what they're doing, because they're not selling the Montana 25,000 because we see it on eBay selling for 100. So we see what real people are buying it for, and that's the price we set it for. In this instance, with Montana, you can see it on eBay, but the gold price on eBay is still the comex price. So everybody's using the comex price, and it's not real, and it's very cheap, and it's not the market. So somebody on eBay does buy it for $3,000, does not put it at, you can't say, well, that's the market, it's 3,000, because the price itself is born from comex and the price fixing. And that's the difference. If you just took a regular card and if you took something that was off of comex, I guess that's the cards, you would price it, you'd price it worth, this card's what? This card's, let's say, 90,000. That's what you would sell it for, not a comex price where they're keeping the price down, but a real price. So if this card's worth 90,000, why is gold only worth 3,000? 2905 or whatever. I mean, it makes no sense if you understand markets. Again, demand is that. Now, we were talking about prostitutes yesterday with this strange guy with the elasticity of demand, or whatever the hell that means, which in my mind is there demand for the product. It demands demand. The elasticity of it is, I guess, how badly is there a price that you won't go? Well, that's a fucking free market, you idiot. Why do they got to name it that? All it does is confuse people, including myself. Look, why are you calling it elasticity? You look at the product, you look what it's going for. So if all the prostitutes are $300 an hour, if you price yourself at 1,000, would anybody pay the 1,000 for your services? And that's really unknown. So on one hand, she was right to see what the market's paying, but each girl's differently. Each girl's different, and different things. So she might have been able to get 500 for her services because she might present something that's unique from the other girls. But there's several prices in the market. There's I see this for 80 grand, 90, 100, 120, 140. So there's different markets for the same thing. And that's the other thing you got to realize. However, with gold, I think it's going to be because it's gold. So it's like they're all Montana cards, every different gold. So I don't think you can differentiate um, gold versus, it's all gold. It's all 20, who knows what the real value is. But that's where we're headed to. And Russia and China and Dubai are coming out with their own pricing exchanges for precious metals and diamonds. And then we will see what an ounce of gold cost. And it's going to be, it's sort of like housing markets. You have different, what you pay for a house in England versus Russia versus China versus Dubai are going to be different prices. I'm not sure if you're going to see. I don't know if gold's universal and there's one gold price, then I think that's the difference. I don't think you can do anything. I think it's going to be one price. And that's what they're doing now with comex. It's one price. It depends on the currency you use. But if I do Russia for Daria, when you convert back from rubles to dollars, it's the same price. So hers might be a lot more, but divided into US dollars, it comes back to 29.05. So it's all the same at each thing, just got to be converted. So that's what you have is those different Ponzi schemes, right? The difference is in Madoff, I think everybody would probably know, right? In here, they're hidden. The fiat currency and comex, you don't know is a Ponzi scheme. Like I said, you see the 100 on the dollar, you think it's worth 100. You don't connect that the value of the 100's gone down, and we don't want it because the value is not worth it. It's not worth the 100 you're saying, or the 100 doesn't buy what it used to. That's the other thing. So if the 100 doesn't buy what it used to, then what do you do with it? And that's really the big problem. So people don't understand, and that's what we're trying to do is open your eyes. So they don't get the concept because it's got 100 on it. It's $100 bill. It's worth $100. But what is $100 worth now versus what it used to be? And it doesn't buy you nearly the same. And it's not the prices of the goods going up. It's the value of the dollar that has dropped because the $100 bill is no longer worth $100. Now, where I argue with Alligator is then why isn't silver? If your argument is that the value of the dollar has dropped, so gold costs more, then my argument is why isn't silver costing more? It should. If gold's gone up, then silver should have gone up. So that's where your argument doesn't hold water, Alligator. It is the value of the dollar not being worth the same, partly, but it's also the demand for the gold by all the BRICS countries is what's also pushing the price up. Because you can see with silver, it's still sitting at $32. So the same dollar that's made gold go up $1,000 from 1900 to 29 apparently has only made silver go up from 23 to 32. Doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. What else? Bitcoin, Ponzi scheme. It's not even real. Trump, what's he doing with? Oh, we'll have a reserve currency of crypto. Like crypto something, right? Crypto is not, it's not worth it. You can't even hold it. What is digital money? How can you have digital money? We have electric money now when we use our credit card and debit card. In other words, I got my Social Security pay today. It just showed up in my account. But if I want to, I can go to my account and take and get, you know, get money for that. And I can take the money and go to the grocery store, go buy gold and silver with it. I can't do that with digital. I can never take delivery. And so therefore it would digitally come into my account. And then what? Well, you can't really get it, but you could spend it if other people take the digital. Well, I just had barbecue yesterday for my birthday and we used electric. He's not even set up to take digital. It's not an option. Bitcoin's not an option to use to buy and sell things. It's a buy and hold, as if what you're doing is if you're buying this and holding it, or buying gold and holding it. But these are real and Bitcoin's not. And again, getting people to understand Bitcoin is not real when they see the $85,000 that some idiots are, like Saylor and Larry Fink, are paying for it, does not mean that's what it's really worth. How can you tell what it's worth? You don't even know what it is. You can't even explain it as anything. It's a computer, what? That's the problem. This I can hold, and this I can hold. So I at least know my Stardust. I at least know what I have here. Right? I have the phone. I have everything. I have my Canadian club. It's hard to, when you don't have it, say you have it and somehow get a value. How are they valuing crypto? Don't know. Okay, so you're valuing crypto, some buy and sell, some derivative. Is it comex? I think it is comex now. I think Larry Fink put it as a derivative now, which is probably why you saw it go down to 81,000. So now he's making it go up, and then it'll go down again. So I think that's a big thing of it, is the derivatives. But what is it? And you can't use it at Kroger's, and you can't use it at Capitol Grill. You can't use it with the airlines. You can't use it if you're traveling to Europe, you can't use it at the hotels. So what exactly are you using it? So what exactly is it? But with the Montana, that's worth 100 grand, and the Bitcoin's worth 100 grand. What would you rather have? Oh, I'd rather have Bitcoin because it's going to go up to 1 million. Is Bitcoin going to get repriced in gold? No. Well, maybe, but I wouldn't pay gold for it. I would pay gold for this. So this is going to zero, and Bitcoin are going to zero. Here comes gold. You can say, I want some gold for this, you'll get it. You can say, I want some gold for Bitcoin, will you get it? Because it isn't priced, and otherwise it's nothing. It's just air. And I don't know how you buy air for $90,000. If you had 90,000, why wouldn't you want to buy what, 20, 30 ounces of gold that you have that's about to go to the moon because they run out of supply, but the demand's huge, so the price is going to skyrocket. Have you run out of supply of Bitcoin? No. Is there really 21 million? You have no idea. How about demand? Is there demand for Bitcoin? Have no idea. How many people can afford 90,000 are going to actually buy Bitcoin with it? So if you do happen to have 90,000, I'm not selling my gold for Bitcoin. Never, ever, ever in a million years. And this is the point of it. So I'm a little tired from this whole daylight. I was up early today. This whole daylight savings is why is there daylight savings? My God. But anyway, that's what you really have to say to yourself. And that's investing 501, as we call it. I hate when they call it economics 101. No. It's 501. And well, that's why we're a master's class. And these other guys are undergrad. So you really don't you've really got to understand it, the options you have, right? You got 100 grand. Do you want to be in stock? Do you want to be in baseball cards? Do you want to be in gold and silver? Do you want to be in Bitcoin? And you're basing it on risk and reward, ROI, return on investment. That's really what you want. How much more is the Montana going to go up? Well, I don't know, but if I spend 100 on it, do I expect it to go to two? Well, who knows, but maybe. If I buy Bitcoin for 100, do I expect that to go to two? No, I don't even know what it is, nor do I believe it's real. Do I want to buy gold and silver? Yes, because they've been suppressed and now they're finally going to break and they're going to go. So I can get on the ground floor of those, but I think Bitcoin's already at 100. I don't think it's at a ground floor now. Maybe it's 100 floors. Maybe it's on floor 50. Maybe it'll go up another 100. Maybe it'll go down. Montana card's already at 100. I don't see it, and again, that's a PSA 10. And again, I don't know how much higher it can go. It all depends how many people have money and what they're willing to spend it on. So Warren Buffett, is he buying Montana cards? Is he buying Bitcoin? Is he buying gold and silver, or is he just sitting on his money, watching it go to zero? The stock market will crash because it's. I was watching this interesting thing on ETFs. Let me show you this. I found this yesterday. I found it very interesting, and it does explain why the stock market is very high. Very impressed with this. Very interesting. Surprised I didn't like it. I found this interesting. How human resources cheat you. And the bottom line is that they work for the company, not for you. So when they'll say, "Oh, if you have harassment or something," it's just to take it's not to help you and penalize the boss. They work for the company, so their job is to fire you for doing any of that. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let's see. See, this one's leading to Trump to send 35,000 troops to Hungary. He's sending them from Germany to Hungary. It's not like he's sending new troops to Hungary. He's transferring them, but it's very misleading. Okay, here it is. And then there's a good match between Ricky the Dragon and Ric Flair. WCW. This is an old one. Good match. All right. This is a very interesting video. Jeez.
Recently, a research paper came out ringing the alarm bells about something extremely worrying in the stock market. Something that might be pointing towards one of the largest schemes in the history of the financial world. You see, this paper, along with a multitude of others, made the premise that ETFs and a large portion of the stock market might actually be a Ponzi scheme. And right now, we could be in the mother of all stock market bubbles. In their paper titled Ponzi Funds, broke down how ETFs are creating a self-reinforcing stock market bubble, where fund inflows themselves cause prices to rise, tricking investors into thinking the market is actually booming. So what do they mean by the stock market and ETFs currently looking like a Ponzi scheme? Well, step one, investors pour their money into ETFs. Step two, ETFs automatically buy the stocks in their index. Step three, stock prices go up, not because of company performance, no, but because ETFs are buying more of them. Step four, high ETF returns attract even more investors. Step five is that new investment money gets turned into even more automatic stock buying. And step six is this just repeats itself over and over and over.
So it's a lot like Madoff. You buy the ETF, you buy the stock, you get high returns. So I'll get back into it, but it's like Madoff, and the thing is you're in the ETF because of the returns. The companies themselves are not worth the price, but it's an automatic thing because you're buying ETFs, the price goes up. And it's the big stocks that it's doing it in. So the higher the price of the stock, the more people buy the ETF, and the more people buy ETF, it buys more stock. And then the stock goes up, and that attracts more people into the ETF. But the value of the companies measured by earnings and measured by future plans. So in other words, we're an ETF on Apple might be the stock price on Apple might be $50, but because of the ETF on Apple and the return, it's priced at $200, and that's where all these millionaire or billionaires are coming from. Buy the ETFs, which I guess it's an algorithm where it just keeps buying, and the stock goes up. More people get involved, more people get a return. Although I know ETFs are not really good; they're fixed. There's huge management fees on it. And so you say, well, why aren't the gold stocks going up? That is a good question there. So I saw this yesterday. So let's watch a little bit more. But I wanted to explain to you, but you never want to buy a gold ETF because you want physical gold, because the ETF itself doesn't have shares of the stock, and the gold ETFs don't have physical gold or silver. So you're buying it for the gold and silver. You buy physical. If you're buying because you want to make money on the ETFs, and maybe that's what it is, and maybe that's the Ponzi scheme. The bottom line is it'll crash, as all Ponzi schemes do.
According to the Ponzi Fund's paper, every single day $500 million is being reallocated in the stock market due to self-inflated ETF returns. Returns that aren't due to the fundamentals of stocks, but because the price pressure of the ETFs themselves. 8 to 12% of investor money into ETFs is solely caused by hype and not actual company profits. The study also found that funds with the highest Ponzi flows later experienced crashes of over 200%. Thematic ETFs like Cathie Wood's ARK saw their holdings traded at 20 times daily volume, meaning that even a small investment into the ETF moved stock prices significantly. So what does this mean in English? Well, it's that the ETF buying spree is inflating prices, and this is all kind of on autopilot right now in the stock market. And when this autopilot system finally runs out of new investors, the market corrects violently. And so how big are ETFs and Ponzi ETFs right now? Well, here's a pretty crazy stat. ETFs now own 53% of the United States stock market, which is a massive increase from just 20% in 2009. Passive funds, which are ETFs and index funds, sucked in $7 trillion in new investments over the last decade, while active funds only saw a $450 billion increase. Now, these two things mean that the single biggest force driving stock prices higher is not company earnings, innovation, or economic growth. It's mindless ETF inflows, pouring into stocks regardless of whether they deserve it or not. Another strange thing going on with the stock market right now is, well, it's Warren Buffett's favorite market valuation metric, the Buffett indicator. It measures the total stock market value versus GDP. In 1999, a very overvalued market, this was at 140%. Into the 2008 financial crisis, it was 110%. Today, 213%, which is the all-time high by a mile. And this is all kind of on autopilot right now in the stock market.
Now, I don't know what that has to do with buying a stock, the stock market versus the GDP. The GDP is not real. It's a lot of government jobs. It really, you're not looking at the market. I don't know what has to do with it. I don't know what it tells you. Anything. The stock market's hot. Well, you can look at the PE ratio and get the same thing. I would assume the PE ratio of the stock market is probably 50 or 60, which would tell you to sell. And that actually makes sense because that's stock versus stock. So I don't know. Warren Buffett puts this out and I have no idea what the hell it means. I wouldn't use it. I'd just be leery that the whole stock market is a Ponzi scheme. All right.
Which is the all-time high by a mile. The market is more detached from the real economy than it ever has been before in history. Michael Burry, the guy who predicted the 2008 financial collapse, says passive investing is the new subprime mortgage bubble. His reasoning is ETFs buy stocks blindly, good and bad stocks get bought equally. Stock prices are no longer being set by analysts, investors, or company performance, but by ETF rules. And just imagine if investing in the stock market was like investing in any other type of business. Hey, I want to invest in a restaurant. Cool, which one? I want to invest in all of them, even the ones with food poisoning violations. You see, the problem here is that if capital is allocated mindlessly, the market stops functioning properly. You see, thanks to ETFs, the top 10 stocks now make up over 30% of the S&P 500. Every time an investor buys an S&P 500 ETF, most of that money automatically goes into Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Google, Amazon, and a handful of other giants. This inflates these companies' stock prices, making them a bigger part of the index, which then causes more ETF money to flow into them. It's a self-reinforcing loop where these 10 companies get richer simply because they're already rich. Essentially, this paper is stating that ETFs have effectively rigged the market to favor the largest players. However, we can talk about something that's even scarier, and that is the hidden leverage inside these ETFs that could turn a market dip into a full-blown financial crisis. A lot of ETFs own the stocks that they actually track, but some ETFs use derivatives, which are swaps, futures, and options, to mimic stock performance. These are called synthetic ETFs. You see, instead of owning Apple stock, a synthetic ETF signs a contract with a bank that promises to pay whatever Apple returns. But if the bank goes under or the derivatives market freezes, the ETF collapses. And what is happening today in the ETF space with derivatives is eerily similar to what happened with the mortgage-backed securities in 2008. Because in 2008, banks created synthetic mortgage securities that they deemed safe. And that was until, the market turned and those synthetic contracts became worthless overnight. And in 2020, bond ETFs actually went through something similar as they became almost worthless in some scenarios. And we could be seeing that any day now with some of the largest ETFs. So BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street collectively manage over $25 trillion in assets. They are the largest shareholders in 88% of the S&P 500 companies. In over 40% of all publicly traded U.S. companies, one of these firms is also the largest shareholder. Essentially, three companies, own capitalism itself. Here's an example of Apple's ownership breakdown, by the way. Vanguard, 8.7% ownership. BlackRock, 6.9% ownership. State Street, 3.5%. Total, 19% control. And since ETFs buy stocks automatically, These big three indirectly control corporate governance. They are also slowly gaining more control as the years go by. So, question is, are these three companies steering the entire stock market? Well, they claim that they don't control the stock market themselves, they just track the indexes. But consider this: if BlackRock decided to sell Apple tomorrow, it would tank the stock. Their voting power influences CEO pay, mergers, and corporate strategy. They are pushing ESG policies by controlling board elections at major companies. Effectively, these firms have more control over the economy and large companies than most governments do around the world. In fact, it's getting to a point now where the SEC is investigating whether one company should legally be allowed to own more than 10% of a publicly traded company. But now here comes the big question.
Across America, predicting the outcome of the big game just got a whole lot more interesting. Because
if you own NVIDIA, this could be the most important video you will ever watch. Because while millions of
own more than 10% of a publicly traded company. But now here comes the big question. What happens when the music stops? Markets don't go up forever. Probably. I mean, they never have. Despite how long or how fast or how short a bull run is, it always ends. One of the only reasons why stocks keep rising every single month is that ETF money keeps flowing in. But if that changes, if ETF money slows down, stops, or even reverses, the entire financial system could collapse faster than a crypto bro realizing he just bought a JPEG for $200,000. And here's another thing. ETFs don't hold cash. When you buy an ETF, your money is used to buy stocks in the fund. If people start selling ETF shares in large numbers, the ETF is forced to sell its stock holdings to give people their money back. This isn't like an old school mutual fund where redemptions happen at the end of the trading day. ETFs sell stocks instantly, right into a falling market. And this can create a feedback loop of doom. For example, investors panic and sell ETFs. ETFs are forced to sell stocks to meet withdrawals. Stock prices drop even further because of that. More investors panic and sell their ETFs. ETFs sell more stocks, making the crash worse. And just like that, a routine downturn turns into a full-blown crisis. And we've seen glimpses of how ETFs can fuel market chaos before. One of the best examples was the 2010 flash crash, when the stock market plunged nearly 1,000 points in minutes before bouncing back. While nobody knew what caused it, ETFs were hit the hardest. Over 70% of trades that crashed that day to 1 penny or the ones that spiked to $100,000, they all involved ETFs. Another warning came in August of 2015 when the market saw a sudden massive drop at the opening bell. Many ETFs lost 20 to 30% of their value instantly, even though the stocks they were tracking didn't drop nearly as much. And as mentioned earlier, the same thing happened in March 2020 during the COVID crash, where the bond ETFs got so bad that the Federal Reserve eventually had to step in and start buying ETFs directly to prevent a total collapse. So this raises the uncomfortable question: are ETFs really the biggest stock market bubble in history? And is it ready to pop? Well, as long as ETF money keeps pouring into the market, stocks will stay high. But if investors ever start withdrawing money, even a little bit more than they are right now, it could trigger an unstoppable crash. And who knows why they would start pulling out their money? Maybe it's an economic downturn. Maybe it's a trade war. Maybe it's a war. Maybe a recession hits. Something that would require a lot of people to pull money out from their investments. And since ETFs control over 53% of the stock market, even a slight pullback could have massive consequences. And so that is a stern warning about how ETFs could be the greatest bubble in the history of the financial world. If you want to learn how to quickly grow your YouTube channel.
So, does that sound familiar with gold and silver? They're watering down gold and silver with ETFs, derivatives, options, and pushing the price down. They're doing the reverse. In stocks, they're pushing the price up with the ETF. So again, here's Newmont Mining, but but here's what the ETFs are saying. Or let's do it this way. Here's Apple, but the ETFs have pushed the price here. So the price is here, but the real price is down here, and it's just reversed in gold. The real price is up here, but in ETFs and comex, they're keeping the price down, so they don't know what this price is. So they're just doing it backwards in gold and silver, but it's all created by this papering, watering down the prices, or watering up the prices. So I think a lot of ETFs are pensions and stuff like that. Those 401ks, I think, are ETFs. Government buys ETFs, but I think they're not real. They're the same as Bitcoin, right? Now you got a Bitcoin ETF. So maybe people think, oh, well, they'll just keep putting money into the ETF, which will keep raising the Bitcoin price. I don't think it works like that, because ETFs will go both ways, as you see in gold. And I think they will control the Bitcoin as they control the gold and silver. The difference is you get physical gold and silver, which will blow up the ETFs because you'll get a real value there. Oops, there is no physical ETF, Bitcoin, so it won't happen in Bitcoin. And I think that's the difference. You're not going to see it in Bitcoin. Gold will go physical, but Bitcoin can't because it's not physical. So that's where it's being overblown, and you have a lot of Ponzi scheme going on with that. So we will see. Anyway, anything else that I watched that I want to share with you? I thought that was very interesting, though. I think not. That's what I like about Egon. Here's one with him and Mark.
Let's start with news this week.
Him and the alligator.
Collapsed in the U.S. When we did first interviews, it was like, okay, it was just for lack of a better term, a bunch of idiots at SVB that forgot to hedge. But now it seems to be spiraling out of control a little bit. What's your take on it, Egon? And how far do you see it spiraling out of control?
I'm pretty boring when it comes to these type of short-term movements because my view has been the same for the last 25 years. So, and therefore, I've been expecting all of this, like Alistair, of course. And, you can never forecast the exact timing of a collapse. The timing is a mug's game, and we're all mugs sometimes, but we can be wrong on the forecast. But the whole system, as my presentation says, the name is bancarotta, the everything collapse. The system is rotten. The banks are rotten, and therefore they will all fall one after one. Of course, central banks so far is only little ones, except for Credit Suisse, where the whole government had to come in and give support and force UBS to buy it at a price that they couldn't refuse, and they got help also from the government. So the system is rotten. It's only a matter of time now, how long it takes for all of this to unwind. It will only survive with funny money, and that we're going to see a lot of. We've seen funny money for years, but we're going to see more funny money, which means more printed money, and maybe they will have time to start the digital system, the central bank digital currencies. But even if they do, it will make no difference. That's just another form of fiat currency anyway. So they will print and print. And then, I'm worried about the derivatives also blowing up and actually becoming debt. And that's another couple of quadrillion. So it's just going to happen over the next, as Alistair said, it could be Hemingway. How quickly, how do you go bankrupt? Well, first gradually and then suddenly. And it could happen overnight, or more likely, they will anticipate at least the little ones and they will save all the small ones. And then in the end, they will have printed so much worthless money that they can't save the system anymore.
See, there you have it in black and white. It's just they keep printing and printing. Profit. So I went to the gold store, and then I said, "Well, what do I do if I get a bar? Should I cut it down into ounces?" And he immediately said, "We'll buy it." I said, "Oh, so if I bring in a kilo or 35-ounce bar, 50-ounce bar, whatever, you'll buy it. You'll just give me a check and off I go." And he said, "Yeah." And he was very like, "Oh, if you got one, we'll take it." So he thought that I said, "Well, what if we melt it down into ounces?" And he said, "I don't know." He wasn't the owner. It was just the guy who helped me with the silver. I'm friendly with them. We talk a lot. When I go in there, they all kind of know me. I don't know if they all like me, but some like me, and they'll talk to me because we're talking gold and silver, so it's always a good conversation. But that's what he said. He said, we'll come in here and just come in, and we'll take we'll buy the bar from you for cash." So I would probably do that, and then you have the money, and then you can always go buy 100 ounces with it, or well, not 100, but let's say you get 250,000 for it. Well, you can always take whatever you need, and then maybe with 100,000 buy more ounces of gold, and then the rest you don't want to stay in cash long, but you go buy something. But that was his thought. He didn't really bat an eye about not selling it, and that they would buy it. And he came right out, "Yeah, we'll buy it." So okay, so I just wanted to let you know if that might be the option that would be the best if you do get that. Once you figure that whole thing out, then we'll see. Yeah, keeping the bars intact might be the way to go. Melting the bars down could cost a lot in labor. Yeah, I get that. And that's the problem. You'll lose a lot of money. Now, the biggest problem is you'll be back on the Titanic. You don't want to be back. Well, in your case, Canadian dollar, you really don't want to be back in this. So you want to buy something. Okay, I can see that. And I can see taking one bar and getting the money for it. As far as getting over the border with it, good question. I mean, you could drive here and then either report it or not report it. Do you have any? I don't know that they ask you for gold if you cross the tunnel, right? So if you're at Sarnia and you want to come into the U.S., Sarnia is near Toronto. Well, it's near London, but you can't get to the border from Montreal or Toronto, right? You'd have to go to Windsor or Sarnia, and you'd cross, and you'd just say, "No, I don't have any weapons. I don't have anything to declare." And maybe they don't pull you. If you do, what are they going to do? They're okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. I forgot I had this gold bar here. But at some point, unless you plan on just living in Canada, you're going to have to get the bars to wherever you're going to end up, be it Puerto Rico, be it U.S., be it Amsterdam, France, wherever you want to end up is where I would. Otherwise, I'd leave them in Canada until you're ready to ship them, until you know where you're going. I think anything over 10,000 has to be reported. Well, doesn't have to be reported, because you're just driving through. You're just driving through the bridge, right, at Sarnia, No, I don't have anything to report. If he doesn't stop you, you don't have to report it. Oh, I forgot, or yeah, I forgot I had this $200,000 thing. And then if you do report it, how are you going to pay for it? You don't have the money. It's in gold, and you don't want them to take your gold. So it's 50-50. I think I would probably, I would drive it once and see what I have nothing to declare, and then they let you go, and then I would try that. But when I go to Europe, now I don't bring that much gold with me, and I usually, like, I'll give it to Jenna, or now Daria. I would bring an ounce or two for her. I don't declare it. It's a gift, and I don't declare it. But normally, when you get off the airplane, there's nothing to declare anyway. There's nobody there. You just basically, you go through passport control, but that's not customs. That's not where you declare. You go through passport control. You get your passport stamp, and then you're free to go get your luggage and go get into the taxi, go to the hotel. There's really nothing to stop you from doing that. And once you're there, you're really, here, Jenna, here, Daria, here's an ounce of gold. And then what? And then they're not going to declare it. Believe me, going into the Ukraine, they're not declaring anything. So that's kind of where you're at. Maybe you practice that, but I think they're more worried about firearms. It's like when you're at the airport. I don't declare it, and it's more they're looking for weapons and stuff like that than they're worried about gold and silver. And you can just say, hey, this gold says it's worth $50. Now it's not 10,000, it's worth 50. I don't know. I got it as a gift. It says it's worth $50. You can play stupid. What are they going to do? The bar is a little different because we don't really have a value on the bar, something that big. But you got to be careful because, okay, you're going to declare it. Are you going to have to pay duty on it? So once you declare it, are they going to want $5,000 to bring it in? I don't know. This is I don't know. Then you're not going to have that money because you're waiting to cash in the thing. And then on the way back, what I would do is I would open up a bank here and transfer the money from your bank, from the bank here to your bank back home, not trying to carry all that money around with you in crossing the border with $100,000. I don't know. I don't know. I've not had much experience in that. Just like I said, I go to Toronto a lot. I used to, but I never really brought a lot. So that was it. Yeah, but if I get caught with a bar worth 250K and it's not going to look good. Well, like I said, that's the point. Are you going to get caught? You got it in your glove box and you just say, no, I got nothing to declare. Are they going to go through your car? Or are they just, I don't think they go through all the cars. And they're more or less looking for drugs and firearms than they are looking for gold. But what are you supposed to do? You're declaring, I'm bringing in a bar worth 250K. Do you pay a tax for that? I don't know. I don't know okay, I'm declaring it. Now what happens? So if you bring in 250K in the airport, do you have anything to declare? Yeah, the gold bar. Well, what happens? I mean, I'll have to read up on that. So I go to another country with this and I declare it. Is there why am I paying a tax? I'm just bringing it in. I'll pay the tax when I sell it, but I don't know what it means to just bring it in. Doesn't really mean anything. I can't bring in stuff with value. The thing you can bring in is jewelry. They never question jewelry. I know her dad wanted me to take delivery of the bars. Maybe I should ship some of the bars to you. I mean, that's up to you. I mean, we'd have to see, but I would just put them in my safe. But we can be like the Chinese. Some of the bars are in Fort Knox and some of them are in China. Hard to say. I would get delivery first and then figure out what to do with them. Interesting thoughts though. But yeah, I get what her dad wanted. I mean, well, first get them and then we could figure out what to do with it. I mean, I'm in Detroit. We could meet at Lake Ontario in a boat and we'll just go across. I had my old boss lived on the Detroit River here between Windsor on one side and Detroit on the other. So it was like, oh, you can just take your boat and go across to Detroit. I don't know. We'll have to think about that, but to get it in, we'll see how that would work. I mean, I could take it to the store and he'd give me the money for it. And then I'd have to figure out how to give you the money. It'd be a big PayPal friend. So there's no 3% commission. That'd be an interesting one. I'd probably rather do Venmo. Venmo doesn't seem to do anything. When I get for Teaserking Venmo, it's nothing. When I get it I keep the whole amount. When so somebody pays me 50, I keep the 50. PayPal, they want 3%. So I'll have to see. Excuse me. I don't know much about the Detroit mob. The Detroit River is down between Windsor and Detroit. So I don't know what business the Detroit mob, if there is even a Detroit mob. That's funny. I'd fear the Russian mob or the Chinese or the Italian, but I don't know about the Detroit mob. A lot of Russians in Miami and New York and Chicago. I'd fear those cities. There, that's where the Russian mob is. Not sure, but yeah. So anyway, he did say he'd pay for it, so I could walk it in and he'd check it out, and then here's the check for 250, whatever the spot is at the day. But yeah, gold's gold. It's on international waters. Well, yeah, if it's Windsor on one side and Detroit on the other. And then I think it goes to Lake Ontario, up that whole side of Canada. Toronto's got like Niagara Falls. That's not Detroit River, but on the U.S. side is some lake, and then that's how they merge, and that's what caused the waterfall, just the different depth. But there's the New York side, and then the Canada side. I think it's must be Lake Ontario feeding into Lake Huron or something, or Lake Erie to form Niagara Falls. But I like the falls from the Canadian side better. The big horseshoe falls, the one on the New York side just doesn't make it. But it's we'll talk about it. But when are you planning on getting the bars? You that'll be a while. Anyway, well, good luck on that. And I would try to see if he can give you a picture of them. And see if you're going to take total delivery or you want to give some to your girlfriend. That might be an option, but I know you need to, I don't know if that's enough to cover the insurance. I mean, how much insurance is on all that? Okay. Yeah, because you don't want to ship them twice. You don't want to ship them to you, and then you're going to ship them on to her. What's the point? Um, why she doesn't know what to do with them? Who wouldn't want them? Anyway, yeah. So when are you planning on meeting her? I'm still waiting for Daria for the war to end, I guess. I don't know. Too much trouble? Okay, well, too much trouble for you, I guess, then, huh? Um, yeah, it's interesting. Me and Daria are waiting for the war to end, but we thought Trump would end it in January. Now we're going into March. It's still going on. I know they want to end it because they don't really like war. Trump doesn't, Biden or Putin doesn't really like wars. Biden or Trump doesn't like wars at all. He doesn't want to see the people dying because they're business to him. That's how business works. I need customers. You're killing all my customers. And they're spending a lot of money on bullshit military stuff and there's no point in it. But we'll see. Let's see what happened. Well, yeah, I get that, but you still want to spend time with her, I would think. I'm on WhatsApp with Daria a lot, but I still want to meet her. I'd like to meet her face to face at some point, not just have the relationship online. That was the thing with Jenna. We would go to Europe twice a year. We'd meet for vacation. The problem is she wanted me to move in with her in the Ukraine, and I'm not. I said I'm not moving in the middle of a war. You can come here, but I am not going to move in there. But she had family there and everything, so it was very frustrating. But that's what it was. So it was 2 weeks a year. Daria's we're supposed to be. She wants to come here. Again, when that happens, I don't know. But she's feeling better. I think on Thursday she's or Friday the 14th. She's going to get the test, and then they'll do the minor operation, which I'm sure she'll still be scared of. She'll do the minor operation. I don't know, probably a couple days after that. Just be glad when it's done. She's so worried about the word operation. It's terrible. Yeah, you got to get the marriage certificate. So you got to get married, but good luck on that. But like Carmen wanted to marry me, but she wanted to marry me for a green card, and I said that's not going to happen. I don't marry people so I can be used to get her a green card. So I mean, and that was she wanted to go live in New York or California. I said no, I don't live there. I'm not a crazy liberal, so I won't live in those two states. But she was just, oh, I can get a green card now. I'm like, that's not why I want to marry you. I'm definitely getting a prenup to make sure I own at least 50% of the gold. Well, what did the will state? You have it in the will if you're supposed to get 50% or whatever. But yeah, well, you got to talk it out with her. What exactly is the will? What exactly are you trying to get? But that's the point. But at least we know we can sell the gold bar here, and he'll give you a check for it. So that's right away. But this is the problem with the bar. To me, I go sell 2 or 3 ounces, and it's cash, and it's nobody really knows. You're cashing in $250,000 bar. People will notice that you got the bar. Now you can say it was, an inheritance, which is perfectly fine, but you might have undue taxes that you have to pay for doing it, and that's There used to not be an inheritance tax. I don't know if it still is. My dad died. He left me some Metropolitan life insurance. I didn't have to pay tax on it because it was inheritance, but it wasn't 250 grand. Um, the will says she gets everything. Well, okay, so how can you ask for 50% in the prenup? It's her. If she gets it all, it's her gold. Now the question is, when you bring it in, do you get to keep half of it? What's in it for you? Are you going to be able to get the bars? You know, are you gonna, if there's 20 bars, are you gonna get 10 of them? Or you got to pay the 4 grand to get the bars to her, and then she just keeps the bars and sorry, Charlie, and you're out. Oh, well, it was just an online wedding, and yeah, let's get divorced. And thanks for all the bars that you paid 4 grand for. I don't know. I don't know why you're in the middle of it like that. The father had that kind of gold. He could have sold one gold and then shipped it. He could have shipped it. Had the attorney ship it. Again, not understanding how it's not in the estate makes really no sense. Or just giving it to the girl. You want to be rich? Here it is. Otherwise, but for her to be married and with what she does doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Why you kind of make her get married to collect all this money doesn't make sense at all. I don't understand that. Um, you know, that's very curious. Yeah, but legally they're hers. If the will says that, she can go, hey, look at the will says these are mine. But in the will, does it say you gotta pay for the shipping to bring them in to give to her? Well, what kind of crap is that? If she wants the bars, she should pay for the shipping. And keep in mind, you're going to have to insure all that. It's going to be, I don't know if 4 grand is going to cover all the insurance on it. So it could be an expensive thing. So you'd want to make sure, well, you're at least getting one bar at 250 to cover the shipping. You know, you've got to get paid back. You shouldn't be out that. If it's her gold, she should be the one paying for it. There was nothing in the will about shipping or insurance. So why are you getting stuck with it? Not that, okay, you want to take delivery and then you're going to keep half the bars or whatever. If she agrees to it, then get that in writing. But otherwise, legally, she's entitled to all the bars because that's what the will says. You're not entitled to any of them. Why you're doing the shipping, I don't know. That's what my confusion is. It's okay if you pay FedEx, at least they're real. So the scam part would be probably not, if that, and you need to get married, but they get married online. That seems kind of weird, but I know you're going to have the ceremony later. I don't know. I mean, there's questions I would have, but the one thing is, if you are going to pay for this, you need to get reimbursed. It's one thing. Okay, so give me 10 bars or 5 bars, and well, that'll pay for the shipping. Fine. And then when they come, you keep the 5, and it's all written down, so it's legalese. And then now how are you going to get them to her? So why ship them to you, and then you got to then pay shipping again and insurance to ship them to her? Or, I mean, however or you can drive them to her, whatever you're going to do. I don't know. I came up from Alabama when I went down to work there a few years ago. I'm from Michigan. I just went down, worked, and came back. And I was nervous. I had my safe in my car. I wouldn't let the movers keep the safe, so I had the safe in my car. And I'd go out and I'd take a look. Is it still there? I had a towel over it so you couldn't see it. But it was very curious. I think I stayed there 2 days. just to relax and enjoy Cincinnati. And I think I went to a ball game, and I went to the casino. They had poker downtown. So you just went down there and did everything. But it was nervous driving down with the safe with gold and silver and baseball cards. Definitely was a trip. So, I didn't go across a border, so I didn't have to declare anything. And it's like going from Montreal to Toronto. There's nothing to declare. Now you're in Toronto. Wouldn't I have some rights to the gold once we are married? No, they're hers. If I marry Daria, she doesn't get Joe Montana. He's mine. He's still mine. Is she entitled to half my assets? I don't really know legally. I don't think so. I think that's what a prenup is. Whatever I come into the marriage with mine, and you come in as yours. We get married. If we get divorced, we then split the assets. But the assets I came into the marriage with come back to me. That's what the prenup is. It's if there's a divorce. So if I marry Daria, no. Does she get Joe Montana? I don't. We could stipulate, or, but then again, I'm gonna, like, now I pay her. I just paid her rent today, so who knows? You gotta have. Marriages are tough. I mean, that's just the bottom line. You see each other every day. And depending on the woman, you're pretty much set with her. So if you see another girl that you want to be with, very hard to do that trick, which is what causes most divorces, I think, is you see another girl, and, it's just human nature. That's why you got a blue shirt and a green shirt, right? Well, I got the blue. I really like it, but I like the green too. So you got to be careful with that. But in California, you'd split everything 50-50. But I don't know if she comes in, does she want a prenup? And again, this is what you have to talk to her about before you get married, or before you get the gold, is otherwise you're paying $4,000 and you're not going to get anything. Well, what's the point? Why should I pay for the shipping and the insurance then I got to ship them to her? So now I got to do it twice, and I don't get anything out of it except for I lose 8-10 grand. What's the point of that? So that's the only problem I would have. I would get that solved first. Why do I have? It's like The Godfather. Why do I have this on her? When there was Salazzo, and the Don goes, $1 million. Why am I so lucky to get the million to give you the money for his Salazzo's thing? So why are you getting to pay for the shipping? Are you not keeping the bars? And that's what I would clear all that up beforehand. And if she's working, maybe she can pitch in and split. Well, why should you have to pay it all? I don't know. If Daria says, "Hey, I got a bunch of gold coming, I need it," I'd be like, "Well, after we meet, we'll get our gold." But she knows I have gold. I showed her the 10 ounces of silver. I thanked her I says, "Well, thanks for the birthday present. I'll just assume it's from you." Like, I bought her perfume, but I gave her the money, and I think she just got it today or tomorrow. The perfume came in, and she'll go get it. And, but she bought it, but I gave her the money with the intent of, I'm buying you the perfume. So I would ask that question about the gold, get all that. She's in California, and the 50-50 rule is in effect there, at least. I think she gets half of your assets. I'm not sure how it works the other way around. Very liberal there. if she has 10 gold bars and you get divorced and it's 50-50, do you get 5? I don't know. I'm not sure. I would definitely ask that question first. But you're not going to live in California anyway. So Florida, we'll see. But I don't know. It's it's a good question to ask, especially crossing the border with the money. I could sell it here, but then how do when am I going to wire 250 grand to you in Canada or put it in your bank account? I guess it'd be probably do a wire to your bank account, but I might not be able to do 250. I might have to do five $50,000 ones because of limits and stuff. I don't know. Well, now she wants to stay there. I thought you were going to go to Florida or the Bahamas or Puerto Rico or somewhere. Okay, well, it's up to you. What are you going to do? You're a Canadian citizen, so you marry a U.S., so you're okay. Interesting. Daria initially wanted to marry me because her sister married an American and lives in America. So she said, "Oh, he's a nice guy. He lives in America." So she wants to do that too. So that's what I'm hoping is she likes me for me, not because I'm an American. But in your case, I mean, you just go through it and see. I would get all that straight before you pay and deliver the gold, and then what do you do with it? You're going to have to give her the bars. She's not going to give you all the bars. How do you get the bars to her? I don't know. So you got a lot of questions you need answered. She has lived in California her whole life. I understand that, but it's gone very, very liberal now. Very socialist, very high taxes, gas taxes, income tax. You got an idiot running it, Newsom, who's he's worse than the Canadian socialist. He's worse than Trudeau. And their plan is they get all the money from Silicon Valley. And that's why all the taxes are so high, because he doesn't care if anybody else lives there. He just panders to the Silicon Valley group. So I don't know. It's very expensive to live there, very high taxes. So I would never live in California. That would be the last place I would want to live. Just too expensive. So I'm just telling you from what I know. I was in LA with Carmen a couple years ago. We went to Disney World and we went to what was it, the Universal Studios, and we found a nice Iron Chef restaurant in Malibu, which was very good. But it's nice, but it's expensive, and you have these high taxes. Now we just Ubered around, so we didn't really have to worry about the expense, but it was expensive. If we actually bought a car there and filled it up with gas, it would have been a fortune. So anyway, that's, if you've never been there, would go there and find this out before you did it. Because the one thing I learned about when I moved to Alabama, I didn't like it, but I had never been there. And I thought, well, how bad can it be? It's in Alabama, and it was not very good. So keep that in mind. This tape keeps slipping. I would definitely visit her and understand California. Now you'll have a bunch of money with the gold. I'd be very careful about that and find the tax ramifications of that too. But I think you'd rather be in Vegas where there's no income tax than a very high tax in California, which is why most people are leaving it for Arizona, Vegas, or Texas, because it's way too expensive. But if you're Silicon Valley, you make $1 million, it's not a big deal. But to normal people who make $100,000 a year, it eats up a lot of your chunk, and they don't really want you there. So I've lived in Michigan my whole life, but that doesn't mean anything. I would move. Daria said, "Let's live in Russia." I'd go move to Russia or somewhere in Europe, but I don't know. Europe's not looking too good anyway. They're all blowing up, as I said. And the point is, this is worthless. Again, just because it has a 5 on it doesn't mean it has value. The value of the 5 isn't worth anything. So if you understand that, and that's all Europe, right? How many countries use the euro? The euro is worthless. So if I'm moving there, I got to be careful because the money's not worth anything. So and I know the prices are going up because the dollar's not worth anything. And it's things like that. Well, everybody loves the ocean, but there's more than, there's other places to be on the ocean. You could, Puerto Rico or the Caribbean or even there's I'm sure other waterfronts, but I get it. Everybody loves the ocean. There's something about seeing the water that you're attracted to, and it makes perfect sense. I'm just saying, from a finance and economic standpoint, it's very expensive. Things are way more, and the question is, do you make more money? In other words, to pay for the higher taxes, does your income go up? I don't think it does. So that's why I'm in Detroit. I can make the same income with lower taxes than in certain areas. And in Alabama, I couldn't make the same income. I would make about $10,000 less. So my expenses were not cheaper. I thought the expenses were cheaper. The expenses weren't much cheaper. Actually, a lot of it was more because you go to the grocery store, you had to pay 9%. Like, what the fuck's up with that? And on normal stuff that here doesn't get taxed. So really wasn't there. But yeah, everybody loves the ocean, but there's more cities with oceans than that. Try Portugal or Barcelona's got what the Mediterranean. Italy had the Mediterranean. Greece, maybe go move in Greece. You can go live in British Columbia's got the ocean, right? Or Nova Scotia's got the Atlantic. So yeah, I mean, that's, it's up to you. Be happy. I'm just pointing out it's very expensive with high taxes. California, I don't know how safe it is there because of all the homeless, because people can't afford houses there. So that's what you're going to run into. So it's not like it used to be. Anyway, so I guess figure out all that stuff. How many bars do you keep, and why are you paying for the shipping and her not? And then go from there. And okay, if I do pay for shipping, how many bars do I get? Or I mean, you got to cover my costs. I mean, you'd only pay it if you're getting the bar. Otherwise, why would you pay for the shipping if you're not going to keep the bar? So that would be my first question with her. And then at what point you'll be legally online married? Are you ever going to see each other and be together, or are you just going to be in different cities? And that's the other. That's how I feel with Daria. Let's get together already. I'm not getting any younger. Let's check what gold's doing, even though we know it's all Ponzi schemed. I thought that was a fascinating little one on the ETFs. 28.93. Gold's taking a dump as China must want to buy more, so they want to get the price down. When you see the price drop, it's because people are wanting to buy it. Nobody's. It's not being sold, and the price is dropping because it's not worth. It's somebody wants to buy it, so they're lowering the price to buy it cheaper. And that's basically what you have. BC might be a good option as well. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Vancouver's, I've never been there. I heard it's very nice. A lot of very pretty women there. Um, so yeah, I mean, but does she want to move to Canada and all that? And what are your laws? So you'd have to find the best place to be with the gold. Um, Now, if you're going to stay in Canada, then yeah, you ship them to you, and you don't have to pay to ship them, and with the U.S. and customs and all that. I think what I would ship them to is the country that you want to end up at. I don't think you want to ship them twice. So if you do ship them to you, and then you got to ship them to her, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why then? Because you're going to have to pay $8,000, or who knows how much. Well, it should be less because you're shipping them in from another country, but does that include insurance? But why do it twice? So I'd be more apt to do it one time than two times. The Cayman Islands has all kinds of tax breaks. Oh, there you go. From a tax standpoint, California is very, very expensive. It's number one, probably in the world, but for sure number one in the U.S. So you want to go to a state like Florida or Arizona or Nevada where there is no state income tax. That's why I'm suggesting that, because you don't have to pay state tax. Now it could be mute if Trump ends the IRS and we don't have to pay income tax, and just the tariff part, but that'll make our goods possibly more expensive, depending if they can raise the price, if the price would stay, or which I doubt. I think the price is already up there from the inflation. I don't know that tariffs are going to raise the price anymore, because if they could, they would. Meaning, if Coke could be $5 a 2 liter, it would be, but it won't be. So because you have tariffs, is not going to raise the price of Coke from $3 a 2 liter to $5 a 2 liter. Or Oreos. I saw Oreos yesterday was like $6 for the box. It probably was a $2 box. And again, it's the value of the 5 is going down, down, down. But I measure it by cauliflower and broccoli. When that goes up, then there is inflation. Because the others, like Oreos, is done by Nabisco, so they could be taking advantage and raising the price, but not cauliflower and broccoli. And that has gone up a little bit. Honeydew's gone up a little bit. Anyway, so that's kind of what you got to look at. The value of that money is worthless because you printed it. And they keep printing it because they have every country's got the debt, because every country's got the central bank. They all have the dollar that's monopoly money. They all have this big pension funds and the military and the money on the interest on the debt. So every country is insolvent. Every country's broke. They just don't want to tell you that. So that's what you realize, and that's why we own gold and silver, because it's the only lifeboat in the river. That's it. It's the only lifeboat you can go to, because you need money, right? You got to eat, you got to pay your rent, so you need money to do it. That's why gold and silver. You can buy this, but this is after you've got, like, if you got 20 bars, maybe I buy a Montana PSA 10. Or a nice $100,000 Rolex with your extra gold, because that will keep value. It'll go to zero in dollar terms and then get rebought in gold terms. So again, this is 100,000. If it's a PSA 10, which we hope it is, it's 100,000, goes to zero and then gets revalued in gold, probably at about 10, 15,000, would be equal to the 100,000 in monopoly money. And in gold, it's 15,000, but it's 15,000 in gold. and gold will be $10,000 an ounce. So, something like that. Oh, what else? What else can I think of? So, you got Trump and he's doing his tariffs, and you got the Bitcoin, which is not real. And yeah, I feel sorry for the Bitcoin people, because now it's like the Madoff thing, right? What was the biggest problem with the Madoff people? They're all crying, well, the SEC looked at it and they said he's fine, so I got into it. Didn't you think the 15% returns were a little bit funny, and the fact he never lost? Wouldn't you think that would be a little funny? Even the professor loses a few football games. I don't hit all of them. So that's kind of what, even if the SEC cleared it, you still should have said, yeah, but that 15% all the time doesn't make sense. And I know some of the people were in it because their father was in it, and they trusted the father. They trusted the Wall Street guys who were in it. And, oh, if Joey's in it, I'll be in it because he's smart. And that was the whole problem with it. It was just ridiculous, how stupid people are to think you could actually make 15% when the economy is giving you 3 or 4%. That was my red flag. Somebody told me about it, and I think my brother-in-law, and I just laughed at him. I says, okay, I just got my master's. You can make 4 or 5% now. Maybe the real estate trust will give you 6. How the fuck you getting 15? And he's, well, it must be because it's a strip mall. Yeah, I don't think so, but good answer. I think he put his money in. He probably lost. I don't know. Haven't talked to him in a while, but that's what's happening. But so be careful. If it doesn't make sense, there's a reason. And that's why, how can you put your money into this? How can you invest in this? In stocks, in real estate trust, in Bitcoin? Why would you invest in the paper money that's worthless? That's the part I don't get from people. If we know the paper money is worthless, and you go and put your money in the bank, what do you think's going to happen? Well, I'll get 7% in an annuity. It's in paper. The paper you're using is worthless. So what are you doing putting your money in the bank or in a real estate trust or in a stock or in a Bitcoin? Everything that's in money is the problem. Now, yes, gold is priced in money, but it doesn't need to be. And gold, the thing with gold is it's very limited and very highly in demand. So you're not really worried about losing in gold and having the gold, any problems with it. So you're really not worried about that. And it is money. So you have something it's an asset. And I think that's the key to it is that doesn't need to be valued in dollars. I knew there was a moral to the story. So the Montana cards, you can't value with the Montana card. It's priced in dollars. So if it's $100,000, but that's it. It can't be turned. The gold is gold, can be priced in gold, and will be. So the gold, you don't need this to value gold. So gold's 3,000 an ounce. If this goes to zero, gold goes up because that's what it was priced in paper. You don't need the paper. You don't need the dollar to price gold. That's the unique thing. And that's the only thing. Gold and silver are the only things you don't need the dollar for. They'll hold its own value because they are money. That's why the Rolex will go to zero and get repriced in gold. Everything, your house, your car, will all go to zero because this won't be worth anything, right? As this goes to zero, everything. Well, wait, my house is worth $500,000. Yeah, but there's no dollar, so it's 500,000 times zero gives you zero. Now your house is worth zero. Then we come out with a new gold back, and then you get to the value of the house in gold. That's what I'm saying. Maybe maybe 30, 40,000 is it. Like they said in Germany, these big 6-bedroom houses were going for $100, 1923. So maybe they were $50,000 before this mess, and they ended up being worth 100. Right. That's really the problem. Anyway, I think that's it. I am just so tired with this whole thing, and I'll go swim later. But that's your job, Prophet. You got to find out where the best place to live is. You got to look at taxes. You got to look at safety, things like that, weather, oceans, and go from there. But what's the most important thing to you? Safety, comfort, taxes, the ocean. That's what you need to understand. And then I would visit the place and go, yeah, I'd like to live here. So I went to Portugal. I wouldn't want to live there. None of them speak English. They all speak Portuguese. Madrid, probably a little bit more English. Ukraine, they speak English. Well, whenever if it comes back, that was fine. Amsterdam, they speak English. Most of those countries around there speaking. I think Germany, I think they speak English there pretty well. So that's kind of what you're looking for. All right. Anything else? Let's look at gold, because now the gold tanked. Is it going to pop back up? No, it's 28.92. So we're going through a big derivative, a big option down. But look what happened earlier. Look what happened at 5 o'clock. It dropped, and then it shot right back up. And then it dropped at 6 o'clock and shot back up at 8. And then the U.S. shot it down at 10, and then 10:15 it went back up. So this is unusual at noon. Well, noon does it, but usually not. So this would be a day I would have not. If I bought it at 10 at 2,900, it went up to 2,907. I probably wouldn't have sold it because it was too early. And then boom, I'm getting a double hit. And this is the only flaw in my plan when I was day trading 1,000 shares to buy to make money on the price fix. So I would have bought it at about 2,900. So it went down to 28.98, and then you see it, the algorithm starting to move. So I would have bought it, but I wouldn't have got out at 29.05. Then it fell down again. Then I jumped back up, but I'm not getting the return I expected, 29.20 or 29.30. And now at 29 down to 28.92. I'd be fucked because I got in at 29 and now it's down $8, which is not a lot. At 1,000 shares, it's $80, I think. So that's what you're looking at. And then silver, I didn't look at silver. 32.12 again, down 40 cents again. Why? Why is it down 42 cents? I mean, that's what the whole point is. There's nobody selling silver and there's nobody selling gold. And if nobody's selling, why is the price going down? If nobody's selling in Montana, it's still 100,000. So that's really what you're questioning. What are they doing? Anyway, so that's what's happening. So we know that they're keeping the price low. So we don't look at the price like, oh shit. We look at the price. Oh, good. We get to buy more. Even though it's not down a lot and we expect it to bounce back. But yeah, it's just, it's like you're waiting for dessert, right? We're going to get a nice chocolate cream pie and we're waiting. And they kind of tease, they take it out of the fridge and then they put it back in. And you're like, when am I getting it? I know I'm going to get it, but when am I getting it? And you want it now. And that's what we want with the gold and silver price. We want it to go up. But they're holding on. So all we can do is either buy more or just wait. And that's the bottom line. So have a good day, Prophet. Take care. Figure out your little things there. www.teaserking.com. Have a good day. And it got warm out. On my birthday, it was like in the 50s. It's always something about these couple of days. It's always 50, 60, 70, because I used to play golf on these days. And then in about 2 weeks, it'll be back into the 20s or 30s, but it won't last just a day or two. All right, everybody. Have a good day. www.teaserking.com. Take care, enjoy, and relax. Buy your gold, buy your silver. You can sleep well at night.